She thought hiding the note inside her left sneaker was clever. She probably figured I'd never check, that I wouldn't notice the subtle difference, how one shoe was packed tighter than the other in her gym bag. But I did, and now I can't unsee what I read. Same room, same time. I'll bring the wine. You bring the excuses. No name, no signature, just a folded slip of paper, warm from being stuffed under her heel, like it was sweating guilt. She was in the shower when I found it, humming the same off-key tune she always did after she thought she got away with something. My stomach flipped. I stood there in our laundry room, gripping her shoe like it was the last proof I wasn't crazy. 10 minutes earlier, she kissed me on the cheek and told me not to wait up. Spin class, she said, adjusting her tank top in the mirror. Might grab smoothies with Cassie afterward. Cassie, the same Cassie who moved to Phoenix 2 months ago. I didn't say anything. Not yet. I just nodded and smiled like a perfect fool. After the shower, she came out wrapped in a towel, phone clutched tight to her chest like it held state secrets. I watched her type something fast. Then she looked at me and smiled. Too wide, too staged. You okay? She asked, towel drying her hair like she wasn't planning to betray everything we built. I said yes. I said yes even though I wanted to scream. I said yes while the note was burning a hole in my pocket. She got dressed, grabbed her gym bag, and as she reached for the doorknob, I walked into the hallway. Calm. Steady. Where are you really going? I asked. Flat voice. No tone. She laughed like I was joking. Spin class, Nolan. Why are you being weird? Then I pulled out the note and unfolded it. Her face didn't even flinch. Just went still, like a dead screen. That's not what you think, she said. It's exactly what I think, I whispered. Go ahead. But the second you walk out that door, our marriage is over. Don't even think about coming back. She stared at me, shoes in hand. No words. And then, she left, without putting them on. She walked barefoot into the cold December night. And I stood there, gripping the laces, wondering how many lies could fit in a single sneaker. The note didn't have a full address. Just a scribbled street name and a room number, Valley Road, number 214. She must have assumed I'd never see it, never read it, never even touch that sneaker. But it burned in my hand the moment she left, and within minutes, I was behind the wheel of my old Honda, driving toward whatever truth she thought I'd be too weak to uncover. I didn't even know what I was planning to do. I didn't call anyone. I didn't scream. I just drove with that sick, heavy nausea pounding behind my ribs, replaying every excuse she'd ever given me over the past 3 months. Spin class, girls' nights, late shifts. Every single one felt like a joke now. Rehearsed lines from a play I didn't even know I was in. Valley Road wasn't far, but my heart raced like I was driving cross-country. It was the kind of street people go to when they don't want to be seen. Rundown motel. Flickering vacancy sign. The kind of place that didn't even try to hide what it was used for. Cheap secrets and one-night regrets. Room 214 was upstairs, facing the parking lot. I saw her car before I saw her. Parked sideways, too quickly, like she was in a rush. I sat in my car, engine off, gripping the steering wheel like it might fly away. My brain screamed at me not to go up there. That maybe not knowing was safer. That maybe this was a mistake. But my gut knew better. She didn't even bother deleting the note. That wasn't just betrayal. That was carelessness. I waited 20 minutes. Maybe more. Then I saw a man come out. He wasn't tall. He wasn't some muscular fantasy. He was normal. Maybe even shorter than me. Gray hoodie. Keys dangling from his finger. He whistled as he left. Didn't even glance back at the room. Just walked to his car, completely unaware that I was 5 feet away watching him like a ghost. Then the door opened again. And there she was. My wife. My Darla. Wearing the same top she left the house in. Hair messy in a way that didn't happen at spin class. Lipstick smudged. She stepped out, looked both ways, then paused. She didn't see me. She just stood there, breathing cold air, like nothing had happened. Then, this part I'll never forget, she smiled. Not a nervous smile. Not a sad smile. But a relieved one. Like she'd gotten away with it again. And I swear, something in me just snapped. I didn't get out of the car. I didn't confront her. I didn't throw the note in her face. I just started the engine and drove away. Calm. Cold. Like I was the one who'd just stepped out of that room. When I got home, I took the spare key off her hook and threw it in the trash. Then I pulled out a duffel bag and started packing. Not for me. For her. Because this time, when she came back, She wouldn't be staying. And she had no idea what else I had found. Because that note in her shoe wasn't the only secret she'd left behind. She came back close to midnight. I know because I heard the lock hesitate before turning, like the door itself was unsure whether to let her in. I stayed on the couch, lights off, phone face down, pretending to scroll even though my hands were shaking too much to read a single word. She stepped inside quietly, testing the air. When she saw me, she let out this exaggerated sigh, like I was the inconvenience waiting for her. "You're still up?" she asked, tossing her keys into the bowl. Her voice had that casual tone people use when they've already rehearsed their excuse. I didn't answer. I just looked at her. At the faint red mark on her neck she hadn't noticed yet. At the way she avoided my eyes. At how she smelled nothing like sweat and everything like cheap hotel soap. She rolled her eyes. "Don't do the silent thing. It's immature." That almost broke me. Almost. My chest felt tight, like I was breathing through wet paper, but I forced myself to stay still. Because the moment I spoke, I knew I'd either beg or scream. And I refused to give her either. She went to the bedroom and froze. I heard it before I saw it. The sharp inhale. The sound people make when reality finally catches up. "What is this?" she called out. I followed her down the hall slowly. Every step felt heavier than the last. Her closet was half empty. Dresses folded neatly into boxes. Shoes lined up by the door. Her spare toiletries gone. Even the framed photo of us from that road trip she loved so much was missing from the nightstand. "I packed your things," I said quietly. My voice sounded strange to my own ears. Thin, tired, but steady. Not everything. Just enough. She turned to face me, disbelief all over her face. "You're serious? You're actually doing this?" I nodded. I hated that my eyes burned. I hated that my throat tightened. I hated that, even now, part of me wanted her to apologize so I could collapse into her arms and pretend none of it happened. "You followed me, didn't you?" she said suddenly. Her tone sharpened. That hurt more than anything else. Not denial. Not shame. Just irritation. "Yes," I admitted. "I saw the motel. I saw him leave. I saw you smile." Her face changed then. Not guilt. Not fear. Anger. "That's none of your business," she snapped. "You don't own me." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out weak and broken and nothing like a real laugh. I never thought I did. I just thought we were married. She crossed her arms. "You're overreacting. It didn't mean anything." I swallowed hard. "Then why did it mean enough for you to lie to me? To write notes and hide them in your shoes like you're ashamed of what you're doing?" She looked away. That was the answer. She grabbed one of the boxes and shoved it toward me. "So what? You're just kicking me out? After everything?" I wanted to tell her how much that question hurt. How everything she was talking about was the same, everything she'd thrown away. But instead, I said the one thing that had been sitting in my chest since she walked out earlier that day. "You chose to leave," I said. "I just made sure you don't come back pretending nothing happened." She stared at me for a long moment. Then she laughed. A short, sharp sound. "You'll regret this. You always do." Maybe she was right. I'm not strong. I'm not proud. I'm the kind of guy who apologizes even when he's bleeding. But as she carried those boxes to her car, something strange happened. For the first time in months, the house felt quiet in a good way. And that's when my phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number. "You don't know the whole story about her. If you want the truth, we need to talk." I sat down hard on the edge of the couch, staring at the screen, realizing that whatever I thought I'd uncovered so far was just the surface. And the worst part? Somehow, it was about to get even more humiliating. At first, I thought it was a prank. Or maybe her lover trying to gloat. The number had no name, just 10 digits and that cold, precise message. "You don't know the whole story about her. If you want the truth, we need to talk." I stared at it for 10 minutes. I reread it so many times I could have recited it in my sleep. I should have deleted it. I should have blocked the number and moved on. But something in my gut, something deeper than paranoia, told me not to. So I replied, "Who is this?" The reply came almost instantly. "Someone who's been through exactly what you're going through. Meet me at the Greenvale gas station. Tonight. Come alone." It was the most cliché message imaginable, but I still grabbed my coat and car keys like I was possessed. I didn't even put on real shoes. Just slipped on the same beat-up sneakers I'd been wearing since this nightmare started. The Greenvale station was on the edge of town, near the railroad tracks, desolate, quiet, the kind of place people passed through but never stopped. I pulled in and killed the engine. The air was freezing. My hands were clammy. For a second, I really considered backing out. Then a man knocked on my window. I jumped so hard I nearly hit the horn. He backed up, hands up in a peace sign gesture. Mid-30s, maybe. Leather jacket. No menace in his eyes, just something tired and familiar. The kind of tired you only get after being lied to for too long. I cracked the window. You texted me? He nodded. Name's Emmett. I was married to Darla. Before you. Everything stopped. What? I asked, mouth dry. He nodded again, slower this time. It didn't last long. She told me she never mentioned it to you. I opened the door and got out, heart pounding louder than the passing train in the distance. You're lying. She said I was her first marriage. He gave me a sad look. She told me I was her first, too. The next half hour was a blur of disbelief. Emmett told me everything. How they met at a photography exhibit in Chicago. How she moved in within a month. How she took out a credit card in his name and racked up 10 grand in charges. How he found out she was seeing someone else the entire time, his own coworker. She left the exact same way she left you, he said. Bag by the door. Said she needed space. Said it wasn't about another man. Then she vanished. He showed me old photos of the two of them. I wanted to believe it was Photoshop. I wanted to scream that it was all fake. But there she was, my wife, in a white dress, standing beside a man she never told me existed. She files for annulments instead of divorces, Emmett said. Keeps it cleaner. Leaves less of a trail. I leaned back against my car, the wind cutting through my jacket like glass. Why are you telling me all this now? He shrugged. Because you deserve better. And because you're not the only one. She's done this at least 3 times. Maybe more. I couldn't breathe. I thanked him. I don't even remember how the conversation ended. I drove home like a zombie, hands locked on the wheel, mind spinning. When I got back, her things were gone. She'd picked them up while I was gone. Must have had a spare key I didn't know about. But she left something behind on the kitchen counter. Her phone. No lock screen. No password. I don't know if it was intentional. A mistake. Or maybe a game. But I tapped it awake. And the very first message on the screen said, "Did he believe the motel thing? Let me know when I can come over." And it wasn't from the man I'd seen earlier. It was someone else entirely. I sat at the kitchen table staring at her phone like it might explode. The message from the unknown number glowed on the screen, taunting me. Did he believe the motel thing? Let me know when I can come over. And under it, a contact saved as Martin, work unamused face. The fake emoji didn't help. Neither did the dozens of messages above it, laughing at me, planning around me, mocking me like I was some gullible background character in her life. But it got worse. So much worse. She hadn't logged out of anything. Not her texts. Not her emails. Not even her photo album. It was all there, wide open, waiting for me to see it. Maybe she wanted me to. Maybe she thought she'd broken me enough that I wouldn't even bother looking anymore. I did. The photos hit me first. Selfies in a car I didn't recognize. One of her in a bathrobe I'd never seen, holding a glass of champagne in a hotel mirror. Smiling. Always smiling, like she was living her best life while I was losing sleep trying to figure out if I forgot to buy almond milk. There were pictures of her with Martin. All right, him grinning like he'd won a prize. One of them was taken on our wedding anniversary. She had told me she had a migraine that night and went to bed early. She wasn't in bed. She was in his arms. There was even a video. I didn't open it. I couldn't. I deleted it before I could see the thumbnail fully load. I wasn't ready to lose whatever dignity I had left. But then I found the group chat. That was the real gut punch. It wasn't just Martin. There were others. A small, vile circle of people who apparently knew everything. Some names I recognized from her workplace. A few from her college days. They called me the safe one, the fallback guy. Too nice for his own good. They joked about how easily she could manipulate me. One of them actually typed, "He'd probably apologize if you cheated to his face." And she replied with a laughing emoji. They weren't just mocking me. They were studying me like a subject in some cruel experiment. My hands were shaking. My throat burned like I'd swallowed fire. I wanted to smash the phone, but I didn't. I needed it. It was the only proof I had that I wasn't insane, that I wasn't making this up, that I hadn't imagined the lies and the coldness and the late-night disappearances. And then, just when I thought I'd seen the worst of it, I found an email she had written but never sent. It was saved in drafts, titled "Just in Case." Nolan, if you're reading this, it means you found out. I didn't want you to. You didn't deserve that. You deserve better. But that's the thing, you always did. And that's why I couldn't stay. You were too good to me. Too patient. Too trusting. And I hated you for it. I needed chaos. I needed something to fight against. And you gave me peace. I wish that had been enough. I'm sorry, in the only way I know how to be. It didn't feel like an apology. It felt like a confession from someone who already knew she was beyond saving. I sat there in the dark kitchen for hours, listening to the quiet hum of the fridge, wondering if she had ever actually loved me, or if I'd just been a long, soft place for her to land between affairs. I couldn't tell anymore. All the memories were poisoned. But one thing was suddenly very clear. I wasn't going to let her vanish into another life without consequences. She thought I was weak. She thought I'd cry and collapse and beg her to come back. She forgot who helped her build her fake story, who paid for her car, who still had access to her emails, her bank accounts, her location-sharing app from when we used to care about each other's safety. She thought the game was over, but it was just beginning. The old me would have begged her for answers, would have paced the kitchen, waited for the headlights to pull back into the driveway, and broken down asking, why? But not this time. She wanted to disappear into someone else's life? Fine. I'd disappear from hers first. Quietly. Permanently. Without a warning. By morning, I had already changed every password. Bank accounts, cloud storage, streaming services, the lock code on the garage, everything that had my name on it. I called the bank, flagged a handful of suspicious charges. Turns out she'd been using my card for her little motel getaways, and froze our joint account. I opened a new one in my name only. By 8 a.m., the money was gone. All of it. Transferred legally. Carefully. I even left her exactly $47.36, the cost of a motel room and 2 bottles of cheap wine, apparently. Then I called my landlord. Told him we were separating, and I'd be vacating the place by the end of the week. I asked if I could pay 3 months rent up front for a small studio he had listed in a different neighborhood. He said yes. I said nothing about why. I wasn't running. I was shedding. By noon, I'd deleted myself from her life. Socials gone. Shared calendars erased. I even removed my name from the emergency contact list at her doctor's office. It was petty. It was surgical. It was exactly what I needed. She tried texting around 3 p.m. Darla. Hey, just checking in. Are we still mad? No response. At 6:19 p.m. Another one. Darla. Seriously, Nolan? Ghosting me now? Still nothing. By 9:42, her tone had changed. Darla. What the hell did you do to the accounts? I can't log in. My card's not working. Call me now. I read it while sipping lukewarm tea from my new apartment. Nothing fancy, just walls and quiet, and a lock she didn't have a key to. The real kicker? I wasn't even alone. No, I hadn't jumped into a rebound. That's not who I am. But I wasn't sitting in the dark sobbing into throw pillows either. Emmett, the first husband, had introduced me to a guy named Felix, someone Darla had almost married years ago but ghosted after stealing a signed lease from his apartment. Yeah, same woman. Same tricks. Different names. Different states. Turns out we weren't just victims. We were a pattern. So we made a little group chat. Club Darla. That's what Felix called it, half joking. But the more we compared notes, the more it felt like therapy. We weren't crazy. We weren't weak. We'd just been targeted by someone who was very, very good at pretending to be exactly what each of us needed. Until we stopped being convenient. At midnight, she called. I let it ring. 3 minutes later, another call. Then 5. Then 9. I watched the numbers stack up like unpaid bills. I stared at the screen, watching her name flash over and over, until it finally stopped. Silence. Except now it was hers. Because this time, I wasn't going to explain why I was done. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of my voice. She'd made enough noise for both of us. By morning, the missed calls were in the 20s. The texts were a mix of threats, fake apologies, and desperation. She even tried guilt-tripping me. I'm scared, Nolan. I don't know where you are. Just talk to me. But I'd seen the receipts. The photos. The grinning men who weren't me. I didn't know her comfort anymore. That ship didn't just sail, it sank. I stayed off the grid for 2 days. No posts, no updates, no hints. I went to work, kept my head down, and avoided any place she might think I'd run to. No mutual friends. No family connections. I didn't even stop at the grocery store near our old place. I became a ghost, one she couldn't haunt anymore. Then came day 3. She showed up at my old apartment. How do I know? My landlord called me. She's outside banging on the door like the place owes her money, he said. I told her you don't live here anymore. She didn't take it well. I can only imagine what that looked like. Her in full meltdown mode, dressed for sympathy, crocodile tears in her voice, asking if I left a forwarding address. She didn't realize I'd closed every door behind me, including the one she thought I'd always keep open. That evening, she found my new place. She must have followed me from work or tracked something I forgot to erase. Around 8:30 p.m., I heard the knock. Not a gentle one. Not a maybe you're home kind of knock. It was the kind of pounding you do when you're terrified you've lost control of the person you thought you could always manipulate. I didn't answer. She banged again, harder. I heard her voice through the door. Nolan, open the damn door. You can't just disappear like this. Oh, but I could. And I had. I'm not leaving, she yelled. You don't get to just walk away. We were married. That word used to mean something to me. Now, hearing it in her voice sounded like a bad punchline. I stood there, heart pounding, just a few feet from the door. I didn't speak, didn't move. I let her scream, let her throw her tantrum, let her feel what it was like to shout into a void and get nothing back. Eventually, her voice cracked. I heard her sink down on the other side of the door, crying. Or maybe pretending to. I didn't trust anything from her mouth anymore, not even the sound of sadness. When she finally left, I peeked through the window. She was standing by her car, phone pressed to her ear, probably calling someone to rage about how the soft, sweet husband she cheated on was suddenly done playing the role. Later that night, I got one last message. Darla, you'll regret this. I was the best thing that ever happened to you. Everyone makes mistakes. Grow up. I stared at it, then locked the screen. She didn't know it yet, but her mistake wasn't cheating. It was thinking I'd never stop forgiving her. And tomorrow, the final piece of this would fall into place. Because I hadn't just ghosted her. I'd been quietly gathering everything I needed to end this, for good. The next morning was quiet in a way I hadn't felt in years. No texts, no fake apologies, no shadow of her perfume poisoning the apartment. Just me, the hum of the heater, and the final decision I had already made the night before. It was time to end it properly. Not emotionally, not dramatically, legally. I'd already filed the papers 2 days earlier through a lawyer Felix recommended. Someone who specialized in clean exits from messy people. No drawn-out hearings, no courtroom theatrics. Just paperwork and facts. We had no kids. The assets were already split the second I moved out and closed the joint account. The lawyer said Darla wouldn't get much of a say unless she wanted to drag it out publicly. And Darla? She hated being seen for who she really was. Still, I left her one final envelope. No threats, no anger, just a simple note taped to the door of her office where I knew she'd find it. It read, no more games, no more lies. The silence you hear now? That's peace. I've filed. You're free. So am I. Goodbye. I left a small flash drive inside with everything she deleted from her phone's cloud, backed up before she ever thought I'd see it. Photos, messages, emails, every detail that proved who she really was. I wasn't going to use it. I didn't need revenge, but I wanted her to know that I could have. I left the building, walked 2 blocks, and didn't look back. That afternoon, I turned my phone off and met Felix and Emmett at a little bar they liked. We clinked glasses. They toasted to freedom, to sanity, to having our names back from the wreckage. We weren't some pathetic club anymore. We were 3 guys who'd survived the same storm and finally made it out dry. By the end of the week, I was unpacking the last box in my new place. Studio apartment. Small. Sunlight poured in every morning through a cracked window I still hadn't fixed. My neighbor was an older woman named June who baked too often and gave me banana bread just because. I'd started reading again, sleeping without waking up to anxiety attacks. I even laughed out loud watching a movie. I forgot how good that felt. I hadn't posted anything on social media since it all went down, but one day, I shared a picture of my new apartment. Just the sunlight, my coffee mug, and a book on the windowsill. No caption, just peace. A few days later, a message came through, someone I hadn't spoken to in a while. Her name was Harper. We went to college together. She said the photo felt like closure. She asked how I was doing. She said she always remembered me as kind, thoughtful, real. We kept talking. 3 weeks later, we had coffee. The conversation didn't feel like survival. It felt like living. No tension, No lies. Just two people who had lived enough to stop pretending. And somewhere, far away, Darla was probably still telling half-truths to people who didn't know better yet. But me? I had finally stopped asking why, and started remembering who I was before her. And for the first time in years, I liked that guy again.